My name is Harry, and I'm from London.
Meghan Markle here.
Today is May 3rd, 2025. It is 3:10 a.m. So there's a lot going on yesterday, and I was completely busy with my personal things, so I didn't really, I wasn't really on Twitter that much. But when I peek in, thank God, some of the people that I follow and who follows me were tagging me on some of the conversation that was going on. So by now, you probably already know that Harry lost his appeal case for his security. So this is what this video is gonna focus on. So I have several tweets making reference to that. So I'm probably gonna have a lot of maybe different videos focusing on that, because a couple of them are threads, and I'm gonna go over them to also inform myself. So these are the numbers for the channel. So let's go on Twitter. Okay, so this is the statement that Harry put out regarding his loss of appeal, and someone tagged me on it. So I will be sharing that with you. And I'm gonna start with it, knowing that Harry lost the case, okay, the appeal case, and this is his statement. Okay, this all comes from the same institution that preyed upon my mother, that openly campaigned for the removal of our security, and that continues to incite hatred toward me, my wife, and even our children. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. This part here, the incite, okay? They instigating, they poke, Harry tried to ignore them, but they keep on coming after him. The insight one, that's the one that's more heartbreaking and very unfair of these people. All right, so let's read this. Oh my God, it's a lot, and it is small. Okay, when I'm editing, I will enlarge it for you guys, and you probably already heard of it, seen it already. Okay, I want to start by thanking my legal team and the Court of Appeal judges for their time and expertise in unraveling this issue that stemmed from the previous government. This process has only ever been about ensuring my safety and that of my immediate family when we are in the United Kingdom, so that we may safely visit my home country with the same level of security that other governments deem necessary for our protection. My ask has been simple: that the standard protocols for security and risk assessment be applied to me in the same way they are to others, including people who have never carried out any public function on behalf of the state. So he's talking about, let's say, the Taylor Swift, the Kate Moss, who got police protection. The court's ruling confirms that the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, known as RAVIC, and comprised of senior officials from the Royal Household, Home Office, and Metropolitan Police, has failed to follow its own mandate processes for me, which are applied to all other high-risk and high-profile individuals. Given my profound concern over this issue, I will be writing to the Home Secretary to ask her to urgently examine the matter and review the RAVIC process. This legal action has been a last resort, but one that has uncovered shocking truths, stating, okay, it's very small, I'm sorry, starting with the fact that the royal household are key decision makers on RAVIC and my sole representation for matters regarding my safety. In this process, I've also learned the names of all those involved, many of whom retired immediately after playing their part. So some of them retired after they, through court documents, they named them, and all of a sudden they retired. Okay, so these probably were things that were discussed privately because they didn't want the public to know some stuff. The appeal took 2 days. One was somewhat public, and the other one was a bit private because there was some information they did not want the public to know. Okay, so I'm assuming this was discussed in private. In November 2017, before the royal household role on Vivek was known, this secretive committee included that when my wife will join the royal family, she should not receive protection. Only when I asked for the name of the person willing to carry that risk did they reverse the decision. So these people, they have an agenda. There's an agenda that it's a group of people. Okay, it doesn't just stay in the UK. It's also in the United States. It's also in some part of Europe and things like that. They have an agenda for the world. And the way Harry's moving forward, it's not part of their agenda. It's hard to explain, but if you read between the lines, you will know. In 2020, Vivek refused for the first time to conduct the required annual risk, threat, and impact assessment that their own policies demand. The intention of this assessment is to be objective and free from bias and interference to confirm the security required. The result was stripping me of the protection I've had since birth while signaling to all other governments to do the same. This reckless action knowingly put me and my family in harm's way. Life is precious and I understand the fragility of it. As I'm reading this, I'm thinking, before I think Charles, who else? Kate, William got married, the girlfriends had security. While editing, I went on ChatGPT and asked, did Camilla Parker Bowles and Kate Middleton had police protection before they were married into the royal family? So this is the response here. Yes, both Camilla Parker Bowles and Kate Middleton received police protection before their marriages into the British royal family, though the circumstances and extent varied. All right, so this is what I find, and take a moment and look at it. Or you could go on ChatGPT and ask the same question. All right, so this is what I got. God, you are their protection. That's all I know. Throughout 2020 and 2021, I attempt to resolve this issue privately.
Institutional role, why be so public? You say you tried to do this privately.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. You know, the family motto is never complain, never explain, but it's just a motto. And it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining.
Endless.
Private being done through leaks.
Through leaks. They will feed or have a conversation with the correspondent, and that correspondent will literally be spoon-fed information and write the story. And in the bottom of it, they will say that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment. But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting. So when we're being told for the last 6 years, we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, there becomes a point when silence is betrayal.
Throughout 2020 and 2021, I attempt to resolve this issue privately.
press and the media.
That's
and as
true.
they say at the start of episode 1, they say so many books and shows and stories have been written about us. We wanted to have our own say. And remember, the purpose of the PR office at the royal family is to keep the royals in the press all the time. So you have to remember, when I work in newsrooms, it's a fact that every anti-Harry and Meghan story comes from Kensington Palace.
But why haven't...
And if it comes from Kensington Palace,
Right.
why are they briefing against their own grandson?
Well, okay, that's a very... The idea...
Why are there never any
Well, I think that's
stories
fascinating.
about Prince William?
Were William and Kate involved in briefing against them originally? I don't know.
Even offering to independently cover the cost of necessary and effective police protection in order to keep me and my family safe. No one responded directly to me about my offer when I made it, and even though I challenged the refusal to let me pay, my legal claim failed. To this present day, the royal household remain my sole representation on Warwick for every visit and could call for this assessment to be done at any point. This is the thing where Charles could easily say, give him the police protection. So I'm assuming the court, in my humble opinion, is listening to someone from the firm. The only possible conclusion that can be drawn is they choose not to, because they know the outcome will prove that my security should never have been removed in the first place. It's just that they know they made the mistake for doing that, and they're just holding... They're just being bitter, that's all. In recent years, my family and I have been subject to well-documented neo-Nazi. So this family that he's talking about, it's the one that he created with Meghan. Okay? In recent years, my family and I have been subjected to well-documented neo-Nazi and extremist threat, including from Al-Qaeda. There are individuals in prison on UK soil because of such threats. And yet, since 2019, a proper risk assessment has not been conducted. This is not only a deviation from standard practice, it is a dereliction of duty. The stark difference is I was born into lifelong circumstances that create inherent security risks. My decade of military service, particularly 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan, as well as social and tabloid media frenzy, have only intensified those threats, uncovering how my immediate family's safety was knowingly put at risk, as well as who was behind it and who sanctioned it, has been truly devastating. So he probably knows who's behind it. But he didn't say it. Just keep that in mind. He's not the one who's saying it, but he made reference to it. No matter where we may agree or disagree, I will never wish harm on anyone. These legal proceedings have revealed to me that this basic duty of care was not and is not applied to me. He's saying that they don't care about his life. It's true that I have been treated as an exception on this issue. The condition of my security were not made based on threat, risk, and empire. They were made based on my role. On that my wife and I wanted to maintain, but that was ultimately refused. Yeah, they're forcing them. They want them to stay in the UK, be a working... Well, it's hard because these people are playing all parts. They kick them out, but yet they want them to stay. Well, them, probably just Harry. They want him to stay so they could abuse him. So it's like these people are operating like a chicken without its head. They don't know what they want. But yet they want to, one of the things they really want to do is to abuse Harry while they in the background do whatever it is that they want. Warwick's ability to make decisions outside of its own policies and the so-called political sensitivities of my case have prevailed over the need for fair and consistent decision-making. The court has decided to defer to this, revealing a sad truth. My hands are tied and seeking legal recourse against the establishment. Wow. The court has decided to defer to this, revealing a sad truth. My hands are tied and seeking legal recourse against the establishment. Shit, is he gonna sue the firm? Is he going to sue the firm now that certain things were revealed in court? Is he gonna sue the establishment? The firm? Probably his own father? Now they're gonna say his cancer is gonna wrap it up really quickly. And let's not forget as well, he has I think one more lawsuit with one of the papers that's coming next year, I think. He took 2 down already. There's one more. But let's continue. So this last sentence here is very telling. The court has decided to defer to this, revealing a sad truth. My hands are tied and seeking legal recourse against the establishment. Wow. This all comes from the same institution that preyed upon my mother, that openly campaigned for the removal of our security, and that continues to incite hatred toward me, my wife, and even our children, while at the same time protecting the very power that should be holding accountable. The UK is my birthplace and will always be part of who I am. This is something he has said when he was leaving the UK to meet Meghan in Canada. It is a place I love and a country where my son was born. I've only ever wanted to continue my charitable work and supporting the causes and people that mean so much to me, and for my children to know the beauty of my homeland. This part, he has said it. He has said that. And that speech, I remain committed to a life of public service. Yeah, that sentence is the same, almost the same way that he said it when he was leaving to meet Meghan. Here is the part that I'm talking about.
I must say that I can only imagine what you may have heard or perhaps read over the past few weeks. So I want you to hear the truth from me, as much as I can share, not as a prince or a duke, but as Harry, the same person that many of you have watched grow up over the last 35 years, but now with a clearer perspective. The UK is my home and a place that I love. That will never change. I've grown up feeling supported from so many of you, and I watched as you welcomed Meghan with open arms, as you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life.
This has been and will always be my life's work, and when you strip away the noise, you'll be able to hear all I've been asking for is safety. Wow. Okay. So this is that. There's no comment. The person blacked the comment. What I'm gonna do here, there's a lot of little clips out there. I'm gonna look for the clip of an interview that he did with BBC, and I'll insert that in this video. That's probably gonna be different videos, so that I'm gonna be recording. Let me pause for a second and look for it. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. It will be screenshot once I play it. A lot of people were retweeting it, but many of them have short clips from this. And this is the longest one that I have. I don't know if this is the entire recording or the interview, but that's the longest. Let's see here. Of course, I will love reconciliation, and some members of my family will never forgive me for writing this book. I mean, he didn't say much about the book in terms of revealing stuff. But then again, let's think about these people. They're doing so much, and then they refuse to let people protect themselves. So forget them. They will always be complaining, and yet they will go and do whatever it is that they want. But let's listen. Okay.
How are you feeling about this decision? Because clearly you have 2 children, Archie, Lilibet. They're not able to see their grandfather, their uncle, their cousins, in a way that you feel is safe for them. So what's your feelings kind of moving forward? Is there any way that this could be resolved?
Firstly, I'm devastated. Not so much as devastated as with the loss that I am about the people behind the decision, feeling as though this is okay. Is it a win for them? Is it a win that that I don't get the protection that the threats and risks and impact say that I should? I would hope they wouldn't consider it a win. And I'm sure there's some people out there, probably most likely the people that wish me harm, consider this a huge win. But you know, this is.
Wow, he's really hurting.
There have been so many differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me for lots of things. But, you know, there is...
It's like every angle you look at Harry's situation, it's like, what did they expect him to do when they inflicting all this unnecessary pain onto him? Every single issues that you look at Harry's facing with his family, when you look at it, you're like, okay, you took his security away. You didn't give him any option or any money to take care of himself, and then he was raised in a life of privilege, and then out of nowhere you just strip it away from him, and then you told him, go live your life. What did they expect him to do? This is the thing I don't understand. What did they expect him to do? And then all of the things that he has done, in my humble opinion, I understand the derangers and many other people may not see it the same way, has been pretty much ethical. He did his thing in a very fine line kind of way to survive. But yet they refuse to let him be. Every day you get up, you're reading things on the papers, on the social media, those people he's trying to run away from consistently talking about him, his wife, and even a child who was talking to her mother. But what did they expect him to do? And the same way Harry sues people, the tabloid, if he said something, let's say in his book, that they didn't like, or whether or not it's true,
began to address Granny about the 5 options. Your Majesty, you've seen the 5 options? Yes, she said. We all had. They'd been emailed to us. 5 different ways of proceeding. Option 1 was continuance of the status quo. Meg and I don't leave. Everyone tries to go back to normal. Option 5 was full severance. No royal role, no working for Granny, and total loss of security. Option 3 was somewhere in between, a compromise, closest to what we'd originally proposed. I told everyone assembled that, above all, I was desperate to keep security. That was what worried me most, my family's physical safety. I wanted to prevent a repeat of history, another untimely death like the one that had rocked this family to its core 23 years earlier, and from which we were still trying to recover. I'd consulted with several palace veterans, people who knew the inner workings of the monarchy and its history, and they all said option 3 was best for all parties. Meg and I living elsewhere part of the year, continuing our work, retaining security, returning to Britain for charities, ceremonies, events. Sensible solution, these palace veterans said, and eminently doable. But the family, of course, pushed me to take option 1. Barring that, they would only accept option 5. We discussed the 5 options for nearly an hour. At last, the bee got up and went round the table, handing out a draft of a statement the palace would soon be releasing, announcing implementation of option 5. Wait, I'm confused. You've already drafted a statement? Before any discussion? Announcing option 5? In other words, the fix was in this whole time? This summit was just for show? No answer.
they have the same option of calling him to court, but instead they rather go to punishing him mentally, in some shape physically. Yeah, the brother who pushed him at the dog bowl. And then they consistently going on and on about him. They refuse to leave him alone. But what did they expect him to do? Let's continue.
I would love reconciliation with my family. There's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has. He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile. As I learned through the First Nations throughout Canada, because of the Invictus Games, their goal in life was always truth and reconciliation. And I turned around to them in many conversations. I said, right, but reconciliation can't come without truth. Well, I've now found out the truth. I've shared some of it with you today. A lot of it exists out there, whether people choose to ignore it or not.
That's to court documents.
So it would be nice to have that reconciliation part now. If they don't want that, that's entirely up to them.
And now that this court battle is over, do you feel you will be able to approach your father and speak about some of those issues?
I mean, no, I don't think he would ever want to talk about it. I think he would just push it aside, and the argument will continue to be this is a government decision. It may well be a government decision, but how did they reach that decision? When the Rabbit Chair, the first place that they went to was the palace to understand what it is that the royal household or what the royal family want for me. I've never ever been allowed or offered to make my own representations. Not in 2020 and not for the last 5 years. And the new Rabbit Chair continues to avoid answering some very specific questions that I have. And one of your previous questions that I think is really important is this case-by-case basis. For me, and only me, there has to be a royal obligation in order to receive protection on UK soil. And I think that speaks volumes.
Thank you.
Wow.
Prince Harry talking exclusively there to BBC News and to Neda Tawfik. An emotional interview, a powerful interview, a long interview there with Neda. Let me just take you through some of the key lines we were just listening to. If you're just joining us here on the programme, the Prince talking about being devastated after losing that legal challenge in the courts here today.
Okay, so that's that here. There's a retweet. Will you visit your father to see Chuck, who has cancer? Will you allow your children to see him? I can only visit if I'm invited. Okay, so there's some part I didn't see. This is the only... Oh, there's another one here. Oh, it's a thread. So, okay, we could see more here. I won't ask my father because he'll just avoid it. Okay, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. I didn't know it was a thread, but okay.
Do you feel you will be able to approach your father and speak about some of those issues?
I mean, no, I don't think he would ever want to talk about it. I think he would just push it aside, and the argument will continue to be this is a government decision. It may well be a government decision, but how did they reach that decision? When the Rabbit Chair, the first place that they went to was the palace to understand what it is that the royal household or what the royal family want for me.
And this is the thing, they're not operating independently. Where, let's say, I think I mentioned it in some old video when I talk about this. And I think I made the differentiation, let's say in the US, you have FBI, you have the police department, okay, different entities, but when they're making their own decision, they go based on their own individual research and whatever that comes around. But what Vivek has done, not only there are people who works in the palace who works within Vivek, but before they come with their final decision, they go to the palace and ask the palace, what do you want me to do? So how is that individual? Independently, that's what I mean, independently. They're not operating independently. They're taking cues or point from the palace to make their final decision. So it's not independent. So we already know the royal family has issues with Harry, so they're gonna go against what Harry wants. Okay, so that's that.
I've never ever been allowed or offered to make my own representations. Not in 2020 and not for the last 5 years. And the new RAVEC chair continues to avoid answering some very specific questions that I have. And one of your previous questions that I think is really important is this case-by-case basis. For me, and only me, there has to be a royal obligation in order to receive protection on UK soil.
So they want him to work, it seems like. And yeah, the other brother's not doing anything. He's taking vacation after vacation. So they want him to come and work, represent the institution, while the other brother, who's gonna be king, which is his job, they've been training him since birth, who's not doing a damn thing. So they're holding the security in order for him to come back and work. Meanwhile, before he left, he said he wanted to do 50-50. This is what I'm saying. Every angle you look at the situation, you're like, okay, what did they expect him to do? They did not want him to work 50-50.
Barring that, they would only accept option 5. We discussed the 5 options for nearly an hour. At last, the bee got up and went round the table, handing out a draft of a statement the palace would soon be releasing, announcing implementation of option 5. Wait, I'm confused. You've already drafted a statement? Before any discussion? Announcing option 5? In other words, the fix was in this whole time? This summit was just for show? No answer.
They say either you in or you out. And then, this is the another angle as well, they chose for him to leave. These people are freaking crazy. They don't know what they want.
So in conclusion, if you'd had the support, you'd still be there?
Without question.
Yeah.
I'm sad that what's happened has happened, but I know, and I'm comfortable knowing that we did everything that we could to make it work, and we did everything on the exit process the way that it should have been
with
done.
as much respect.
With as much
and,
respect.
Oh my God, we just did everything we could to protect them.
In the moment, they see something that will benefit them, they go with it without thinking the consequences, the ripple effect of their action. So now that they decided for Harry to leave, remember the Sandringham summit where the papers was already prepared? We heard from Spare the book. Okay? Everything was already written for him to leave. So they choose that for him. This is the thing many people will not understand if you do not know all of this stuff. What did they expect him to do? And this is what's good with it, because Harry went to court. We were aware of all of these in court documents. If these things that Harry was saying in the book were not true, so how come they didn't sue him? So he went to court. It confirms what he said in his book. So they choose that for him, but now they're saying we're gonna hold security. It seems like that's the way it seems is interpreting to me. If you don't come and work for us, you're not gonna get security. And at the same time, they put it on paper for him to leave. What the fuck is this? What did they expect him to do? And this is another thing I've said in the past. This is why Harry wanted them to make sure to know what they want, because once they made the decision for him, he will stick by it. And this is the decision he's sticking with. Being out there, making his own decision, working for himself and do all of those stuff. Because he is aware that they did not want him. It is in court document, and then they put it in writing when William hired Simon Case to document it for him. It is well written. They hire. From my understanding, we may not like Simon Case. I think that's his name, right? Simon Case. We may not like him, but I think him knowing the law in the UK, he is the best person in the UK who could craft and write, how would you say that, documents, that's not the word I'm looking for, how do you call it, contract, that's it. It's like a contract Simon Case wrote to say, okay, either you in or you out, and it seems like they chose he's out. And this is what Harry been focused on. But let's continue. Oh my God, the next one is almost 4 minutes. Let's finish with this part.
And I think that speaks volumes.
Okay,
Prince
so
Harry
that's
talking-
that. Let's go to this. Oh my God, there's more. Let's pause. So it's breaking down. Okay, this one is almost 4 minutes. Let's listen.
In an extraordinary interview tonight, Prince Harry has spoken candidly about the breakdown of his relationship with his father and other members of the royal family. He said his
Okay, it seems like the way they put it is not really in order. I guess as you go further down, that's the earliest, but let's continue.
father doesn't speak to him, but added he would love a reconciliation. He spoke exclusively to the BBC hours after he lost his legal challenge at the Supreme Court about the level of security he receives when he's in the UK. The Duke of Sussex's protection, funded by the taxpayer, was downgraded in 2020 after he stopped being a working royal. Tonight, Prince Harry called the court's ruling an old-fashioned establishment stitch-up, blaming the royal household for influencing the decision to reduce his level of protection. Here's our senior royal correspondent, Daniela Relf.
It was a raw and at times emotional Prince Harry who spoke to the BBC in California, crushed by the legal judgment, fearful for his family's safety.
That's what I was thinking about that. I was like, was he in the UK when that happened? But I got my answer. It was in my head, but I didn't say it. But anyway, let's focus on this. Sorry.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done, despite what some people in that country have done. So you know, I miss the UK. I miss parts of the UK. Of course I do. And I think that it's really quite sad that I won't be able to show, you know, my children my homeland.
Do you want the court battle to continue? Do you want to try to see this get to the Supreme
I
Court?
don't
or
want
have you
any.
abandoned
I don't want any battles to continue. There is way too much suffering and way too much conflict in the world. This, at the heart of it, is a family dispute, and it makes
That's
me really,
right.
really sad that we're sitting here today, 5 years later, where a decision that was made, most likely, in fact, I know, to keep us under the roof. But then once you realise that that wasn't going to work, once they realised that, you know, myself, my wife, and our kids are happier outside of the institution, then please just look at the facts. Look at the risks, look at the threat, look at the impact that if anything was to happen to me, my wife, or my father's grandchildren, if anything was to happen to them, look where the responsibility lies.
For Prince Harry, the court's ruling leaves him exposed.
Firstly, I'm devastated. Not so much as devastated as with the loss that I am about the people behind the decision, feeling as though this is okay. You know, is it a win for them? Is it a win that, you know, that I don't get the protection that the threats and risks and impact say that I should? I would hope they wouldn't consider it a win. And I'm sure there's some people out there, probably most likely the people that wish me harm, consider this a huge win.
And he spoke as frankly as we've heard in recent years about the family fallout and his father.
This is what they wanted, okay? For Harry to always walk behind him and then to be next to that one while the husband doesn't give a shit about her. This is the image that they wanted. Okay, this person can be replaced with any other engagement that he goes to. This is the image that they wanted.
King.
There have been so many disagreements, differences between me and some of my family. This current situation that has been ongoing for 5 years with regard to human life and safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book. Of course, they will never forgive me.
Okay, so this is repeating.
Lots of things.
No, it's almost done anyway. All right, there's another part here. 1 minute and 44 seconds. If it's repetition, I'll just go to the next one.
And safety is the sticking point. It is the only thing that's left. Of course, some members of my family will never forgive me for writing a book.
Okay, some of these are repetition. Okay, the long part, the 4 minute one, has all of these clips. Okay, there's been no communication between Harry and Chuck. He doesn't know how long Chuck has to. Okay, he doesn't know. Okay, how long? Okay, how long Chuck has to live? 2 minutes and 9 seconds.
BBC News.
And let's get the thoughts of our royal correspondent, Sarah Campbell, because this interview has only come in the last couple of hours. Sarah, what do you make of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very revealing interview. It's very honest. It's very candid. It's his way of trying to explain publicly why he's gone down this immensely long and difficult and expensive legal road in terms of his security. But also, as you heard there, it gives us an insight into what's going on between him and his family, just as happened in the Oprah interview in 2021, in his autobiography in 2023, and now we have
Even all of this, the Oprah interview, his book, all of these were supposed to be done because the institution refused to leave him alone, and they consistently going after him. And they want him to remain quiet. I mean, and as if you go look at some of the videos that I have, like yesterday, the week before, they still going after him. Some of my videos were making reference to what the derangers, the people who they unleash on him to talk about his wife and kids. Why can't they just mind their own business and let Harry and Meghan live their lives? They're making their lives more unsafe for Harry and Meghan. But let's continue.
And really, if anyone's in any doubt as the state of relationship between Harry and his family and whether those rifts have been healed, well, I think that interview, answers that question. He says he and his father don't speak. I think the one line that really stood out to me was when he said he didn't know how long his father, the king, has left to live, and that he wants reconciliation. He said that more than once, but that until this security situation is resolved, it's clear he's not going to bring his wife and his children, the king's grand.
This is the thing that they're aware of Harry. They know Harry have feelings, okay? It's almost the same thing that, what's this guy, the Telsa guy was saying about empathy. They're using Harry's own empathy against him. Meanwhile, the others, they have none. They don't care about anything. This is the thing that will hurt Harry. Harry needs to focus on himself and don't give a F about the rest. Just focus on his family. So they're using his own sensitivity, his human quality of caring against him when they themselves don't have none. Okay? I didn't see that part that this lady is making reference to. I guess there's a longer version of it, but the longer version that I have is 4 minutes and 35 seconds. And then other small little clips here and there. But Harry needs to focus on himself and accept the fact that they do not care about him. His royal blood family don't care about him. Just focus on himself, Meghan, and the kids. I mean, at this point, we have to give Meghan so much credit. Meghan must love this guy so much to put up with this BS. At this point, Meghan, well, let me not go there. Whatever they have with themselves, they're content with it. It's not my place to tell them how to feel about other things. But one thing for sure, Harry needs to understand his blood royal family don't give a shit about him and that little family he created, the Sussexes. Okay? So this thing is gonna, knock on wood, it doesn't reach. Boomerang back to its senders. But let's get back to the original recording.
Children back to the UK. And just to restate, his grandchildren haven't been in the UK, as far as we're aware, since 2022, so 3 years. So there's been no comment yet from the palace. I'm sure they're digesting, as the rest of us are.
They knew
Harry's
the
now calling
outcome.
on the Prime Minister, he's calling on the Home Secretary to intervene, and the clear inference is that his father could have an influence and reinstate that security. And now many people will dispute that. So I think what we know is 5 years after that Sandringham summit, when all of these issues were on the table, those problems are still very much there.
Yeah, the Sandringham summit, where they came with the paper and say you have to leave. Either there's no half in or half out, and then they waste his time to create this illusion that they're trying to reconciliate with him. Meanwhile, the paper, the document, the contract was already written. You all out.
Barring that, they would only accept option 5. We discussed the 5 options for nearly an hour. At last, the B got up and went round the table, handing out a draft of a statement the palace would soon be releasing, announcing implementation of option 5. Wait, I'm confused. You've already drafted a statement? Before any discussion? Announcing option 5? In other words, the fix was in this whole time? This summit was just for show? No answer.
So what was he supposed to do? So all of this is the palace decision. All the narrative that you see is going on, Harry's fighting, the institution put it on him. They made the decision and Harry's trying to fight it. I mean, my goodness.
Sarah, thank you very much, Sarah.
Okay,
Campbell.
so it's done. All right, so she fixed herself here. How long? How long Chuck has to live? All right, so there's more here. 42 minutes, seconds. I mean, let's listen.
Prince Harry gives yet another bombshell interview, accusing the King of refusing to talk to him and calls the court defeat over his security and establishment stitch-up involving the royal household. In an interview released after the court ruling, he claimed it was now impossible to bring his family to the UK, but that he does want to reconcile with his father.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
In terms of the King's health, Harry said that he's not sure how long his father has to live. Tonight, we'll take you through the biggest revelations from the Prince. Also on the program, Prince Harry gives yet
Okay, it's playing again. I was drinking coffee. This is the next one. Prince Harry is devastated and wants reconciliation with Chuck. 2 minutes and 4 seconds.
Bill's the victim of a good old-fashioned stitch-up after the Home Office announced it was downgrading his security arrangements back in 2020. Harry said he didn't realise at the time that the royal household was involved, and he feels they knowingly put him and his family in harm's way. He said,
And that aspect as well. Again, this is my opinion, okay? It was never written, they will never say it anyway. For me, I feel like it boils down to when the Queen Father died. The moment the Queen Father died, the institution, men in grey suit, the invisible government, okay, the ones that we don't see but wants to rule the world, they took over step by step, and we see it happening in the US as well. The same group, by sending the Queen overseas, do engagement. Meanwhile, Charles, as a toddler, was in the UK where they're spewing nonsense in his head. So right now, I think, as some people may not agree with me, and that horse that's next to him, I feel like it's a way to keep him on a leash to make sure he does what they say. She's an informant in there, in my humble opinion. And if Charles were to be out of line, at least there's someone inside who knows how things, what the ins and out, what's going on in the institution. Now, when it comes to the next future monarch, he's done. He's gone. He's with the other ones already. But anyway, let's continue.
they cannot come to the UK safely as they are subject to many serious threats and private security isn't enough. The Duke said it's the only issue preventing reconciliation with the King and other senior royals, something he wants to happen. But he revealed his father still isn't speaking to him. Here's our royal editor Chris Shipp on Harry's heartbreak.
Prince Harry was most recently in the UK last month to attend the same Court of Appeal hearing over his security that today he was told he had lost, after judges ruled that his security arrangements were both sensible and appropriate. The Duke of Sussex responded this afternoon and he did not hold back.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done.
Well, the kids, in my humble opinion, are not missing anything if they never know about it. I mean, it would have been nice to know the side of his father, but the way things is going now, they refuse to give him that security for him, Harry, to introduce his kids to that side. Maybe in a way it's good. So there's nothing they're missing. They grew up in California, so they are aware of the things, the lifestyle that they have in California. Now, if they remove them from California, this is not to say, I'm just random thought here. Now, this is something that they will miss because they are aware of it. They have friends. They have, probably play dates. The lifestyle that they have in the US, in California, they are aware of it. But they're not missing anything from the UK. Archie is not missing anything because by the time he left the UK, he was a baby. He wasn't aware of all of this. So there's nothing he's missing. So that's a good thing here. But it would have been nice for them to know. But he will read about it sooner or later.
Despite what some people in that country have done.
Harry had taken legal action against the government, claiming the taxpayer-funded security he's given while in the UK should not have been downgraded after he left the royal family. But judges today upheld a decision by a Home Office committee called RAVIC, saying it was the right one.
That these were powerful and moving arguments. It was plain that the Duke of Sussex felt badly treated by the system. But I concluded, having studied the detail of the extensive documentation, I could not say that the Duke's sense of grievance translated into a legal argument for the challenge to RAVIC's decision.
They all are baggage for God, that's all. They all are baggage for God, that's all. Let me move it back because I was talking over it. They all are baggage for God. God, you have a lot of work to do. Princess Diana, you have a lot of work to do.
For the challenge to RAVIC's decision.
There are many reasons why the relationship between Harry and his family are so bad. Different attitudes to the press, alleged treatment of Meghan during her time here. But this dispute over his security is one of them. And Harry today, referencing his father's cancer, said his new security arrangement is the reason why he does not talk to the king.
He won't speak to me because of this security stuff. But it would be nice to reconcile.
Blaming his family for the breakdown is not new. He's done that in his book and in interviews before. But singling out a government, in this case the Conservative one...
I'm sorry, I've seen this so many times, that clip. But looking at William fixing his cough, he looks ridiculous. I'll rewind it. Let's finish listening to this, but I'll rewind it to show you how he's playing with his cough. It looked ridiculous.
2020 is highly unusual. And despite everything, the not speaking, the private conversations shared in books and on TV shows, Harry said today he's...
Alright, this is the part here. Watch William fixing his cough. He looks ridiculous. What was he trying to do? Well, okay, starting right here. Okay.
To reconcile.
Watch.
Blaming his family for the breakdown is
Look at
not new. He's done that in his...
Look at, he's still playing with his cough and done nothing. Absolutely nothing.
In this case, the Conservative one of 2020 is highly unusual.
I've seen the clip so many times until now. I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is he trying to do? This is the next clip. It's 1 minute and 18 seconds.
Choose not to.
So Chris, he wants a reconciliation and is clearly upset. So what happens now?
Yeah, clearly upset that he's lost this court case today. But yeah, Charlie, I've been going through this interview. Look, we didn't know it was coming. It came out of the blue this afternoon. And whilst it's a
I'm sorry, it's not coming out of the blue. I was aware of it yesterday, the day before it came out. There were reports, even though I'm not on Twitter as much lately, I came across tweet that, as a matter of fact, I think it's this video. Okay, window of opportunity to make it right, part 1. Okay, this one. That was the day before the result came out, that they said that on Friday at 2 p.m., the court will have the result of his appeal. So we were aware of it. It was not out of the blue. Go in that video. You'll hear the time at the beginning. You know how I usually start my video. I'll say the date and the time. Okay, it was the day before. So it's not out of the blue. Out of the blue is when you don't know anything. You're not aware of it and they just put it out there and it will be a shocker. No, they prepare you. They said that it was going to come out on Friday at 2 p.m. All right, let's move it back slightly.
The blue this afternoon, and whilst it's a surprise, there's not a lot new in there. I mean, Harry's told us before in an ITV documentary last year that he can't bring his wife and children to this country because he doesn't feel like they're safe in the country of Harry's birth. He said before about his surprise that the royal family sits on this committee we've heard so much about, RAVEC, which is what the committee that the Home Office uses to decide all of these things. And he's clearly highly upset that this decision has not gone his way. It was previously at the High Court, today was the Court of Appeal, and they said that the right decision was made in the courts. Look, as for what he said about his father, I mean, I think it is a surprise. It continues to be a surprise to me that they still don't talk, they don't see one another, particularly when Harry's in this country, given everything that the King's going through, and he spoke about his cancer recently.
Oh, please.
But clearly a very upset man, and no sign that this rift is going to heal anytime soon.
All right, Chris, thanks very much.
Once that invisible government is done with Chuck, or things are getting too close, he'll be. And the other thing, it seems like there's a possibility Harry might sue the firm. Okay, because there's a lot of things he is aware of that's behind the scene that's not made to the public, but it's in court document. Okay, breaking news. In response to the Duke of Sussex failed legal challenge over his security in the UK, a Buckingham Palace spokesperson said, quote, all of these issues have been examined repeatedly and meticulously by the courts, but you guys are influencing the court. How is that? If it was independently, this is the thing Harry's saying, from the people who are running RAVEC. Some of the people who's running RAVEC are also working in the firm, in the royal household. So it's not independent. So you have that connection, that group who wants whatever it is that they want for Harry is influencing the RAVEC people. So it's not independently or unilaterally making the decision based on evidence and things like that, but it is being influenced by the firm. Okay, all of these issues have been examined repeatedly and meticulously by the courts with the same conclusion reached on each occasion. Okay, BS, breaking, a Buckingham Palace spokesperson said, okay, so the same thing. All right, so there's someone who responds. Let's pause this. The most extraordinary interview from Prince Harry calling on Keir Starmer and some MPs to intervene in this security battle. He also claimed the king won't speak to him because, all right, Cameron Walker. Who's Cameron Walker? Is he a MP? Let's see here. Ah, never mind. I thought it was an MP or something. Then he would have said MP. I guess from GB News. Oh my God. Let me pause and see how long this is.
Vanaka. It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
You know, we ask for forgiveness and please come back.
As you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life.